detail the upcoming and immediate changes that will be rolled out throughout the Western Australian community, I want to again reiterate some important messages for all West Australians. Yesterday I said Western Australia is facing a war, one that we have never experienced before. I know this is tough, I know this is confronting. I know I'm asking a lot of everyone in our community, but I need everyone to do their bit. That means listening to the advice, following the rules, and performing your civic duty as West Australians. Thank you to those people who are adhering to the social distancing measures. But unfortunately, it's not enough. Too many people in our community are disregarding the social distancing measures. By doing so, they are not just putting themselves at risk, they are putting the lives of older and vulnerable Australians at risk. The majority are doing the right thing. To the minority, you need to listen to the advice. This is a matter of life and death. So I call on every West Australian to do the right thing, follow the rules, and if someone is ignoring them, call them out. Call them out. It is our duty as West Australians. I also want to again thank those amazing West Australians doing an incredible job in trying circumstances. Our health workers, our teachers, our police, truck drivers, shop assistants, cleaners, bus drivers, everyone across the community. You are serving our community in the most difficult of circumstances. We owe you so much for what you continue to do. Thank you. As the Prime Minister announced last night, in just a couple of hours at 12 noon, we will be moving to stage 1 of the new restrictions on social gatherings. Given the world we live in, we need to expect these restrictions could be in place for at least 6 months. These decisions are based on the best medical advice in the country. The following facilities will need to close: pubs, bars and clubs, gyms and indoor sporting venues, cinemas, entertainment venues and casinos, large religious gatherings and places of worship, libraries and cultural institutions. Restaurants and cafes will be restricted to takeaway and home delivery. This is regrettable. This is regrettable and very, very sad. I feel terrible. I feel terrible about this. Coming to this decision with the Prime Minister and other state leaders was not something I ever wanted to be doing. But unfortunately, it's necessary to protect us all. If we don't go down this path, more and more people will be infected with COVID-19 and it will risk putting significant pressure on our health system. This is about saving lives. It's as simple as that. Unfortunately, this means devastation for many businesses and their employees. My heart goes out to those people who have built up their businesses from scratch and now have had their whole lives turned upside down because of a virus we'd never even heard of a few months ago. This stage of restrictions will change the Western Australian life as we know it, and we might need to go even further. Stage 2 of restrictions, if we go down that path, will be more extreme and impact our lives even more. Last night, leaders agreed that children should continue to go to school. This is based on the best of medical advice. I've always said that closing schools is a last resort. But I understand many parents are concerned and want to keep their children home at this time. It is for that reason that we will relax the law and provide parents with choice. If parents decide not to send their kids to school, we will not enforce the law that requires you to do so. But I stress, if parents do decide to keep their children home, parents must abide by all other laws, and that includes all new social distancing rules that have been introduced. WA schools will remain open through to the end of the current school term, which is just under 3 weeks away. Many non-government schools will provide access to online and distance learning. In the public system, we will provide access to resources for parents and students so they have the option to continue with an education program for the remainder of the term if parents choose to keep their kids home. I understand many parents and education staff are worried, but I assure you we don't make these decisions lightly. They are based on the best medical advice in the nation. I want to thank every staff member in our schools again. Teachers, education assistants, all staff. Thank you for what you have been doing from the bottom of my heart. I cannot stress that enough. I want to also inform you of a new development with cruise ships that has just come to light this morning. This morning we were advised that the Magnifica cruise ship that has been in Australian waters for some time, carrying over 1,700 passengers, wants to arrive at Fremantle Port within the next 24 hours or as early as tonight. Currently, more than 250 passengers have reported upper respiratory illnesses. I am advised all passengers are from overseas, Germany, France and Italy. This morning I've contacted the Prime Minister and have spoken to the Home Affairs Minister, Peter Dutton, to explain that my priority is to protect West Australians. I will not allow what happened in Sydney to happen here. We will not allow passengers or crew to wander the streets. This is a non-negotiable position. Options are currently being developed between the Commonwealth, the Defence Forces and the state government. We are working cooperatively with the Commonwealth and in particular Minister Dutton to resolve this matter, and I'd like to thank the Commonwealth for their support. Options are currently being developed between the Commonwealth, the Defence Forces and the state government. We'll work with medical authorities to provide assistance to those in urgent needs. My first priority has to be protecting Western Australians. This is an emerging and an evolving issue. We will work with the Commonwealth throughout the day to come up with a plan that properly protects our state. I'll hand over to the Health Minister now.
Thank you, Premier. Just to provide you with an update with regards to the COVID cases in Western Australia, this morning I can report we've had 20 new cases, all within the metropolitan area. Of those, 6 are from the cruise ship Ruby Princess, that is passengers that returned to Western Australia via Sydney. We also have 1 passenger from the Ovation of the Seas cruise ship. Contact tracing is underway and the Department of Health will provide more details on the contact tracing website. However, I can confirm that the majority of the new cases have a travel history. That brings Western Australia to a total number of cases to 140. We currently have 12 patients in hospital, 3 in St Charles Gairdner Hospital, 3 in Royal Perth, 4 in Fiona Stanley Hospital and 2 in Midland. Of those patients, 1 is in critical condition at St Charles Gairdner Hospital and we still have 1 critical at Midland Hospital. I can confirm that the Armidale COVID clinic is open from this morning and 4 clinics will be open in Rockingham on Tuesday and in Midland and Joondalup on Wednesday. Clinical staff will conduct tests, provide information and refer people for appropriate treatment as required. To date, those COVID clinics have tested 9,948 people in the metropolitan overall, and of which 1,283 were in the regions. So we are still in a situation where, although we've tested almost 10,000 people, we only have 120 actual positive cases. Now, on the subject of tests, our testing criteria is agreed to as part of the national criteria, but I appreciate that there's growing community concern, and so I've asked the WA Department of Health to investigate a new testing regime with broadened criteria. In order to do this, they are urgently auditing supplies of all consumables, in particular swabs and PPE, to work out exactly how far we can extend that regime. On the subject of elective surgery, I want to again give my thanks and apologies to all those who have been impacted by the cancellations. I know this is difficult for you and it was a difficult decision to make, but it's a necessary one. Your support and patience at this time is greatly appreciated. We are working closely with collaboratively with our partners at the WA's private hospitals and expect that they will be making some changes with regards to their elective surgery schedules very soon. This is important as it's to conserve scarce PPE and supplies and to make sure that those clinics or those hospitals are standing ready to make sure that they can receive COVID patients into their facilities as the situation grows. I'd like to finish by just thanking all the medical staff, the doctors and nurses working on the front line, the allied health staff and their support staff that support them in the field. This is a difficult task and it's one that they have responded in terms of the call of duty, and it's one that I know that they are ready to address. And on behalf of the government, I just want to thank them for all the work they've done and the work that they'll be doing into the future. And I'll ask Minister Ellery to make some comments with regards to schools.
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank, on behalf of the government, and express my personal thanks to the ongoing professionalism and dedication of all of the staff in our schools across Western Australia. School leaders, teachers, education assistants, the front office staff, cleaners and gardeners, lab technicians are working under circumstances that I know are difficult, and I know the pressure is great. Thank you for what you have done to date and for what you continue to do. We acknowledge the concern of parents as well, and I want to reassure them that we are making informed and considered decisions based on the best possible advice from all of the Chief Health Officers across Australia. As a consequence of the National Cabinet decision last night, schools in Western Australia remain open for students to attend. We take direction from the Chief Health Officer on all of these matters, and that advice is that schools should remain open. Chief Health Officers across Australia, all of them, have adopted a uniform national position on the issue of school operations in relation to the community transmission of COVID-19. They do not support closures at this time. They do not support closures of schools given the evidence, lack of evidence, of significant disease in children and the lack of reported major disease spreading in schools. Given that WA schools will remain open though, we respect parents as the ultimate decision makers for their children and recognise that they may choose to keep their children at home. The advice from the Chief Health Officers is that the closure of schools poses a major risk to children's education, their mental health and well-being, particularly those from low socioeconomic areas where schools provide an important environment for nurturing and learning. The impact on the critical workforce and potential exposure of elderly relatives caring for children is also of significance. The evidence of the benefits of closures at this stage is minimal. Chief Health Officers see schools as an essential service and strongly support keeping schools open. Chief Health Officers will continue to review developing evidence regarding the effect of the disease in children and the role of children as transmitters of the virus. Chief Health Officers are of the view that school closures are likely to be more effective when approaching the peak of the epidemic and enforced for a shorter period. In respect to other jurisdictions, I want to reiterate, Victoria, who were due to start their school holidays later this week in any event, have brought their school holidays forward by 3 days, starting tomorrow. Every other jurisdiction in Australia, their schools remain open until the end of Term 1. Today, schools in Singapore go back after their normal scheduled school holidays. I note that the Minister of Education in Singapore has sent a letter to all parents advising that schools are reopening because of the science. That is, that schools are the safest place for children to be. I want to talk a little bit about how we plan for ongoing student access to learning. Our staff have put in a huge effort into planning how we can enable students to continue to access their learning. Bearing in mind in Western Australia, we have a long tradition and infrastructure for delivering learning online because of our geography. The department has developed a new website available today called Learning at Home to be the one place that parents can visit to get a range of learning resources. We will add to this progressively. Teachers in public schools are not expected to provide work packages for students who have chosen to keep them home at this time. Work packages will continue to be provided for students who are home because they are otherwise unwell. The priority for staff in public schools today is to maintain the focus on classroom learning programs. Teachers from all school sectors, as well as parents and caregivers, will have access to the online resource I've just announced. We are also preparing for continuity of curriculum delivery in the event of school closures. Last Tuesday, we trialled webinar delivery to 450 students from 10 schools across the state. In respect to Year 12 students, Year 12 students will not be disadvantaged as a result of the events that are unfolding. It is too early to call today whether there will be any changes in ATAR or ATAR examinations or the timetable. However, we have processes in place to ensure that students will not be disadvantaged as a result of the events which are beyond their control.